Hi everybody, Rachel here, Treehouse Knits. Welcome to episode 25. Glad you're here. You can find me on most socials as Treehouse Knits. I will have my information down below. It's been a little while since we've chatted. I hope you guys have enjoyed your knitting the last few weeks. I know I have enjoyed my knitting, had a little vacation time in between there, and I have so many projects to share with you. I have some new acquisitions that I think you might find some interest in, and what else do I have to share with you? Oh, I have been doing some sewing too, so I thought I'd show you that because last week we had, or last time I should say, we had the giveaway, and I asked what other creative endeavors you like to do, and everybody, it seems like most of you do so many other things other than knitting, and sewing and quilting was a big one. So I'm going to assume that a lot of you do enjoy hearing about sewing, and I'll share with you a little bit as I continue growing in my sewing skills. So, and of course I will have all the tips and tricks kind of sprinkled in between there. First of all, what am I wearing? You know, I have not showed you this. I thought I'd pull it out. This is a necklace that I made using the Betsy beads technique. Let me see if I can get up close for you there. And yeah, a long time ago, I think this book was out at least 5 years ago. But there's just some beautiful projects in here, great way to use up scraps, and I thought I'd point it out to you. You can see the Craftsy logo peeking out because I did take the Craftsy class where Betsy Hirschberg herself teaches how to make beads using yarn and light wooden beads. You're basically knitting a sleeve that slips over them. So I thought I'd just point that out. I had fun a while back knitting up beads. I have a whole tray of beads that I haven't done anything with. One of my favorite ones is this one that's got the beads all around. You incorporate beads, little mini Japanese beads, in with your different yarns. And you know, different yarns give you different looks. This one had a little metallic rose gold in it. This one I just put in, this is the sleeve. I have it in a little bead, but you can see that bead could fall out really easily, but it's basically knitting a sleeve and then you put the bead in it. So I thought I'd just share that with you. There's a lot of different things you could use those beads for. You could make them into zipper pulls, you know, not only jewelry, but zipper pulls, and I don't know, there's a ton of other things. So anyway, why don't we go ahead and get started? I do have a finished object from last time, and I will put them on. These are my mittens from West Telemark, and you know, the last episode I talked about how I printed out the map of Norway, and I'm kind of using that as I'm knitting my mittens across Norway from the Mittens from Around Norway book. And West Telemark is an area where a branch of my family is from. These fit me really nice. The one thing that happened to me as I was knitting the second mitten, was that I forgot to put my waste yarn in. I just continued knitting up, and I got up to about here and realized, oh my gosh, I never put my waste yarn in. I just followed the chart all the way up without doing that. So this particular mitten was done with a true afterthought thumb. I do have a video tutorial on how to do the afterthought thumb, but it's using waste yarn, so you're actually picking out waste yarn. In this case, I had to actually cut out some of my knitting. Now I got really lucky because this particular pattern, you'll notice that it stops right here and you just do all black for a couple of rows, and that saved me because I could easily just cut out one row of black, knit the black, and then move my way up. So it's a little off, but not bad. Yeah, so these are my mittens from West Telemark. That is my third pair of mittens. My first pair was this pair that I'd made. This is the Wintertude mittens, and that's by Wenche Rold. I love these. I'm going to knit them again using some Norwegian wool next time. This was my first attempt and I just used what I had on hand, and it's a superwash merino. You can see the stitches. They don't kind of marry as well as in true Norwegian wool, which I'll show you some things that I'm working on today with that. Okay, the next thing I want to show you, we'll get away from the mittens for a second. When I was in Chicago several months ago with a friend, I picked up the Cubs colorway from Lorna's Laces. It's called Raise the W. And this is the yarn. I am knitting this into a size 14 sock. Yay for me. Anyway, isn't that cool how that has knit up? Lorna's Laces does an amazing job of not getting a lot of pooling. I'm not really a pooling fan. I feel like this is just so cool how it's evenly distributed, of the dye is evenly distributed, and I will be knitting all of the blue yarn up. I've made this is the cuff on one end. I know about how many grams left in my ball I will have when I need to start making the cuff on the other end, and then I will cut in the toes and the heels. And I am going to be using this red Heritage sock yarn. If you haven't used this Cascade Heritage sock yarn, it's a really nice, soft, but durable sock yarn at a really good price point. So I highly recommend it. It's $75.25. Normally I like $80.20, but for some reason I really like this Cascade for heels and toes, and even it works nice for shawls too. So that is what these are going to be turned into. Now, I decided to use my little 9-inch circular for this particular sock. And I did so because I was on a long flight. We went to Hawaii last week, and the flight there was about 8 hours both ways. And there's something about sitting in an airline seat that I thought, oh, the little needles would not take up as much room. And I was right. You know, the first inch or two was a pain. I felt my hands kind of getting cramped up, but then I got used to it, and by the time I had a little bit more to hang on to, I've actually been enjoying these 9-inch circulars. Will I do all socks with 9-inch circulars? No. But these happen to be Haya Sharp 9-inch. And I'd like to try the Chiagu because their needle is a little bit longer, and that would give me a little bit more to hold on to, but these are working fine. So that's where I am with these socks. Let's go back. Oh, the other thing I wanted to share with you. When I'm knitting these socks, you know, it's just like you knit and it twists and you gotta constantly untwist it. So what I've been doing is just rolling up the sock, and then it's just so much easier to knit. Just a little tip. I bet you all have figured that out already, but I felt pretty clever when I figured that out last night. So I thought I'd just share it with you in case there's a few of you out there who have been dealing with that issue. That is a good solution to that problem. Okay, so the other project that I started while I was on my trip is the, I don't know how to pronounce it, it's the ARA shawl. I'm going to call it the Ara shawl by Andrea Mowry. That shawl has been out for a couple of years. I don't think I've heard much about it, but I have this yarn in my stash. It's a mini skein set by Inkblot. It doesn't include that green, but I'm going to be using that green in the shawl. But it was this really cool speckled gradient, and it was just in black and gray and white. So I am making that shawl with that. It's going to get darker and darker and darker, and then I'm going to end with this as the lace. I thought that would be a fun shawl, kind of for the spring, maybe even summer. I've started it. You can see how it's getting darker speckles as I go along. And actually, this was the first skein of the shawl, of the kit that was dyed by Inkblot. This is actually Hedgehog Typewriter that I had a little bit left of, and it's a lighter version of the lightest of the kit, so I went ahead and used that. One thing with this, I started it out on my size 5 interchangeable Addy clicks, and I have decided I do not like the Addy clicks when I'm using anything less than worsted weight yarn, because that join, the yarn grabs onto it and drives me crazy. So I went ahead, I was at a yarn store a few days ago, and I bought a size 5 Chiagu fixed circular 32 inch, and it is just so much better with that join. My ideal needle for this kind of work would be the Addy material for the needle, the Chiagu point, and the Chiagu cord. Can somebody please make that for me? Please. Maybe I should make that. Anyway, that's my Ara shawl. I'll stick a picture in here of what it's going to look like. All right, so now let's get back to mittens. So the next pair of mittens I've showed to you already. They are the Fir-tree mittens. I talked in depth about it last time, but here's the mitten again. I'm using Barrett Wool Co. in their, I don't know the colorway colors, but it's this really pretty rust with this mint green. I've started the other cuff, and I'm actually, instead of using a paper pattern, I am using Knit Companion for the first time. Let me show you. I'm using it on my iPad, and it is so nice. Instead of pulling that tape or post-it note back, you just tap it up a row. And I really like doing it this way. I really do. So, yeah, again, it's called Knit Companion, and you can get it, I don't know if it's, I know it's Apple products. I don't know if it's anything else, but you basically upload a PDF, and then you put it into a project on Knit Companion, and you're all set to go. This is that logo in there, if you can see it, is what the app looks like. But I love it. I mean, you're able to, I wish that it would allow you to reverse the pattern or to mirror image the pattern. I haven't found on there a place that it does that, but that would be nice if it did that. But you can make the PDF bigger or smaller. It's really nice. The next mitten that I've started is called Rose Mittens from Jack. And honestly, I'm knitting these up because I just think they're beautiful. And I don't think I have any relatives in this area of Norway. I just love the design and thought they'd be a lot of fun. I wanted to knit a pattern that had a cuff that was color work this time. So I'll show you where I'm at with those and the colors that I'm using. I'm finally using, I got my order from the Woolly Thistle. I'm finally using my Rauma Final Garn yarn. I decided to use this peachy pink and black. And here's where I'm at with my mittens. I've gotten past the thumb area. You can see it right there. And I'm just working my way up, and I love, love, love how these are turning out, the colors. I think it's super cool and unexpected. So really there's nothing much to say about these mittens. I'm to the point now where I kind of understand how to do that Latvian braid now. I've done a few mittens with that. You know, a tip for when you do the Latvian braid, that's that really cool, you can't really see it very well because it's rolling under, but you can tell it's that arrow kind of detail, that braiding. One tip that I learned when I took a class from Ann Weaver, it was her class on the Yipes Stripes cowl that had Latvian braids, is to make your yarn balls farther away from you so that when you're twisting over every time, you have given enough space between your work and the working yarn of the ball of yarn so the twists don't bother you. And in a lot of patterns, you'll do a round where you're going in one direction with the braid, and when you get to the next round, you're going in the other direction. So technically, when you get around that second round, your yarn should be untangled again because you go one direction one round, the other direction the second round. So Try moving your yarn cakes or balls away from you. I mean, when we were in the class, my cakes were like probably 10 feet away from me. So we kind of had fun with that. I highly recommend you try that. Again, I wish there'd be a needle that would have the Addy material in a Chiago needle. I think right now these Chiagos, I love a 32-inch cord when I'm doing one mitten, and these are on size 1. The joins are just so nice on these Chiago, just so nice. So that would be my needle of choice right now for doing these. All of my projects have been with fingering weight yarn, so I just felt the need to work on something that was a thicker yarn, thicker weight yarn, and I'll just share with you my progress on my Telja sweater. I've got both sleeves pretty much done, and these are the colors that I'm using in Let Lopey. It's this really nice blue color, and I've got a light blue and a pink and a gray. I'm really happy with how those colors are looking together. And the next step for this is to start bottom up and do the body of the sweater, and then finally the color work and the yoke. But that's just kind of where I'm at with that sweater. As the weather gets warmer, I wouldn't doubt if that sweater gets put away for a bit. Although in air conditioning during the summer, I can work on the heavier weight sweaters, and then it would be ready for me to wear in the fall when the cold weather comes again. So who knows? Who knows what will become of my Telja, but I'm really happy with the colors on it. That's a sweater by Jennifer Steingass, Telja. So I have been doing some Imagiknitting lately. I haven't been able to, I have so many projects going on, and yet I want to keep casting on projects. I don't know, I've heard a few of you are also experiencing that. And the latest, I don't usually buy a lot of these magazine books that come out, but when I saw this particular sweater, what I usually do is go on Ravelry and I find the new publication and I take a look at all the patterns that are in it. And if there are a few that I like, then I consider buying it. And this latest issue of Lane magazine, I think it's issue 4, yeah, number 4, has a few patterns in it. One specifically I thought I would share with you if you have not seen it already. It's a sweater by Fiona Alice, so you know it's a great pattern. And it's called Lakeland. And here's the sweater. She knitted in Hinterland's Range, which is an Aran weight 50-50 alpaca wool blend. And I absolutely love the detail in the front of the sweater. I love the soft turtleneck collar. I think these sleeves look so comfortable. And then when I saw the back of it, actually that is what sold me. I love the detail on the back. Isn't that pretty with that stitch down the middle and then it opens up in the back? It's actually knit in 3 pieces flat, that ribbing, and then you bring it all together and it's a bottom up sweater. Again, another bottom up sweater. Oh, I like top down so much better, but I think that that is definitely a pattern that I'm going to look at doing. And I really think, you know, I definitely want to make a full sweater in Barrett Woolco's woolen spun, and this is the Hinterland Range is a woolen spun yarn, which that's a lot of yarn, and if it were done in a worsted weight, that would create a really heavy sweater. But with woolen spun, it'll be a lighter weight, meaning the actual weight of the garment, and the breathability of it, but it would keep you warm when you want to be warm. But see, it's 50-50 alpaca, and that's what's making that gorgeous drape, or helping make the drape with the wool. And Barrett wool, 100% worsted spun, or a woolen spun yarn, I think might make a fabric that's a little more structured, and I really love that drape. So I might consider, this is a Canadian yarn, and the US dollar is doing pretty well with Canada, so maybe it would make sense to go ahead and just get the Hinterland. It's a yarn that's procured and spun And it's all natural colors. They have a range of all beautiful natural colors. Like I think there's 5 different colors, and I really like the maple color. I think this is honey, but I checked it out and I really like the maple. So those are the things I want to consider when either substituting a yarn or maybe I will just go ahead and use that yarn. But that is on my radar. Another one that's on my radar, I'll insert a picture here, is the Carbeth cardigan. When the Carbeth sweater came out, that's by Kate Davies, I really loved the sweater, but I didn't know if it would be very flattering. It's a cropped sweater. I knew right away I'd want to make it longer, but there's something about the way the front goes that if you're a little bigger in the bust, it accentuates that, and I don't necessarily like to accentuate that. So I thought, boy, maybe I could convert that into a cardigan because I really liked how the shoulders looked. And lo and behold, out came the cardigan version of that. So that is in my queue as well. I'm Imagiknitting something with that. And that might be a good sweater for Barrett Wool Co. The other project that I'm Imagiknitting is from Jane Austen Knits. I think it was in 2011. I'll insert a picture here of the magazine, Jane Austen Knits. These are the Chawton mittens. They are so gorgeous with that silhouette. They're almost like those cameos, you know? I think that would be a lot of fun to make that mitten. And then, of course, I still need to make my Sven and Solveig, or my Soren and Jenny. My Soren needs his mate, Jenny, so I need to start that. Which leads me to some knit-alongs that I'm participating in and that I'm hosting, being the Kit Along 2018. We are in our final couple of weeks, and there are some great finished objects on the Ravelry podcast page, the Treehouse Knits podcast page. Thank you so much to all of you who have already participated. There are some really cool kits that have been completed in lots of different types of fiber art. So check it out if you're interested. If you're on your way to finishing your kit, get it done before March 31st. That's when I'm going to do the drawing. And again, I've got, I'll put a picture here of the prizes for the drawing. We've got a wonderful couple of skeins of yarn from Carrie from the Creative Obsession. We've got a great project bag, and we've got that $25 Woolly Thistle gift card. So check it out. Either I'm going to be doing 3 drawings. One is from the finished objects, obviously, and you know, there's a lot of these knit-alongs have like hundreds of people who place their finished objects in there. But with mine, you have a really good chance of winning because we have lower numbers. I'm not that big of a podcast, but I've got great prizes. So I'm going to be pulling a winner from the finished objects, from the chatting group, and from the Instagram hashtag. If you have posted under hashtag KitAlong2018 on Instagram, I will be pulling from there as well. So please, you got until March 31st. I will be pulling for that, and I don't think I will get my Jenny done by then, but I know you all understand. I'm not eligible to win anyway. The other knit along that I'm participating in is the New Hampshire Knits Mitten knit along. I forget what the hashtag is, but I'll put it right here. I am also hosting a year-long mitten knit along, as I am working my way through a couple of books now. Mitten books from Norway and Scandinavia, and so I'm participating in that. I will be pulling, I do have a on my Ravelry podcast page, we have a chatter thread, and I will be occasionally this year pulling from the chatter thread. And the ladies at Legacy Fiber Arts, that's Chelsea and of course the lovely Sue. I have followed Sue Stokes's Periscope for probably it's going on 2 years now. She gathers a group of us yarny friends, and we have a great time in the morning just catching up on what Sue is up to. And since she started that Periscope, she is now dyeing yarn. And let me tell you, Sue is the real deal. She has owned fiber arts stores in the past. She's an artist. She's a fine arts school grad. She understands color. She knows how to run an effective, efficient business. She's just really an impressive woman. And she's also a partner. She's the partner with Andy from Andre Sue Knits, and they do that Needles Up gathering, which is happening at Maryland Sheep and Wool this year. But she sent me 2 skeins of her DK weight 75-25, and this is DK weight, so you'll get 245 yards in each skein for some color work mittens. These are gorgeous. I don't know about you, but whenever I see color work mittens where there's one solid color like this gray, which this gray is actually really beautifully tonaled, it's not completely solid, and then there's one that's just a little bit more variegated, but slightly. When I see that combination in mitts, it's almost like a stained glass effect, and it's gorgeous. So I will be drawing for these 2 skeins from Sue, Legacy Fiber Arts, and thank you so much, Sue, for sending these my way, and thank you so much for sending me a couple of skeins to play around with as well. This is gorgeous. It is so soft. And again, she knows what she's doing with color. I last year got a skein, I think this is her Sweater Weather. And I just wanted to show how it knits up. There is no pooling. Again, this is a dyer like Lorna's Laces, my Cub Socks. These ladies know how to really dye colors that go well together, unexpected yet beautiful, and the dyeing is just so even and beautiful. I did random number generator, and I came up with post number 23, who is Gabby from Vancouver Island, Canada. Gabby J, you are the winner of this amazing kit. So when you, I'll give you a few days to see if you hear it on this podcast. Otherwise, I'm going to send you a direct message and get your address and ship these off to you. So thank you so much for participating. Now, the next time we will be drawing from the next batch. So everybody after, let's see, number, I think, what did I say? Everybody after number 136 will be eligible for the next drawing. So my sewing. I have had a little fun with bags. The first, I have to bend over, sorry, I have to reach this down here. The first bag, I wanted to play around with vinyl and see what it was like to use it. And I made this little vinyl pouch. It's not boxed or anything. It's you know, really shallow. Just have a zipper here, and not quite sure what I'll put in here. Maybe you could put scissors or a rotary cutter. I actually quilted, it's got quilting in the back, and the pattern that I used for this one was from By Annie. She's got a pattern for a small, medium, and large version, and this is a small. I was just kind of testing it out, and I like it, and I think next time I might make it into a bigger size. My idea was to make a few of these for my cross stitching, which I just recently started a little bit of, and I thought it'd be nice to be able to see into the bag the work of the cross stitch. So that's the first little bag, and then I have a bigger project. I saw this pattern at my local quilt shop, and I saw the finished product, and they were doing a class, but I thought, oh, I'll give it a whirl and see if I can do it on my own. It's called the Maker's Tote, and it's by Noodlehead. It opens up kind of like a doctor's bag, which I really like, the wide opening. And I have gotten everything finished except for the handle and the binding. Now, here it is. Here's the fabric that I used. Again, it's rough because I don't have any of the binding on. But I had a lot of this in my stash, and I thought I would use it for this. I had some of this floral, and then I had this particular pattern. I think it was all, I forget what style. And then I used this for the inside. There's some pleated pockets, and some just sleeves that you put in, and it'll have a zipper, but the zipper opens up wide, so it'll open up like that. And I've got a zipper on the outside with that kind of lining, and then my binding that's going to go all around the bag is going to be in this. Yep. Make sense? So that's the bag. I'm really excited about it. I think it's turning out well. The one thing I forgot to do, I used the foam for the outside. It's a pretty dense foam, but I forgot to line this fabric with a woven interfacing, so it's kind of puckering, and I'm not happy with that. But you know what, it's my first one, and I'm gonna be easy on myself and just use it and enjoy it. So next one I'll know to do better. We can't be perfect our first time making these, right? So anyway, that was my big sewing project for the last several weeks. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to share with you, I love getting to know other makers, other knitters out there all over the world. It's made the world feel a little smaller to me, and I have enjoyed so much getting to know someone named Lynn. And Lynn is on Instagram. Her Instagram handle, oh, she changed it. Oh, what is it? 3 Ol Daughter, I think is her Instagram. I'll put it here. She and I started talking a while back when she watched the podcast when I was specifically talking about sheep breeds. And sometime I probably will get back to that, but for now I've kind of moved on a little bit this year to the Scandinavian knitting. But she contacted me and we had a lot of great dialogue on different sheep breeds, and she lives in Norway. She's actually an American who, I think 20 years ago, married a Norwegian farmer. And they live on a farm in Norway, and she has sheep, and she has the old Norwegian sheep. Like, she has the actual old breeds that are found that have been in Norway for a long time. And we decided to do a little bit of a swap, and she sent me some amazing things. You know what she did? She actually shoveled her way into her barn so she could give me some clippings of her sheep, and I have them in a bag, and I plan to play around with those and wash them and just see how they feel, spinning up maybe a little bit too. So that's amazing that in the mail I got clippings from sheep from Norway, from Lynn. She also sent to me a bunch of yarn that I couldn't get my hands on here in the US that I wanted to try for my mitten knitting, and one of them is the Norsk Pelsal by Hifa, and this is, I think, well, I have to read up on it, but I've got amazing colors in it. Got blues, and then she gave me some grays as well. Now this is Tinde Pelsal garn. And Diana Walla talked about it on her Norwegian yarns episode, and I really wanted to try that out as well. But I just wanted to show you the one thing that was just, I shrieked when I got it. It is an actual kit from the Selbu Spinnery for these Selbuvater mittens. There's the yarn. Oh my gosh, this is from like the birthplace of the Selbu mitten, and I am so excited to try the Selbu Spinnery. I'm assuming that these are the natural wool colors. Oh, I mean, how amazing is that? Amazing. So I am really, this is going to be a treat. I might do these starting in the fall if I can wait that long, but these will definitely be knit up this year for sure. So thank you, Lynn, for everything that you sent me. Of course, she had other amazing things in there as well too, and we've talked, and I've thanked her personally over and over. Hopefully I didn't overwhelm her, but that was such an amazing thing to receive in the mail. I got that the day before we left on vacation, so I had to look at it, put it in my office here, and then I went away for like a week and a few days, and I missed it. I couldn't wait to get back home just to look at it all again. So that was something that came in the mail that I'm so excited about. The other things that I got in the mail, I know I've talked about her before, but Hannah Kaita from Kupo, Finland. She has a really great podcast, Down Sheep's Alley. I'll put a link down below as well to her podcast. It's a monthly podcast. She is a fearless creator. Every time she has a podcast, she has something to show that is just unique and so creative, and she just does things with passion, and I love that. Recently she put out a pattern called Frozen Lashes Shawl, and I'll put a picture of it here, and I'm gonna try and do a screenshot of Hannah wearing the shawl, because I think it looks so different just flat out on a table versus being worn. So I'm gonna try and put that here. I loved how it looked on her, and I love the whole concept of the frozen lashes. If you're from the north, from someplace really cold, you know that sometimes it is so cold that if you're outside for a while and your eyes are watering, your lashes start to freeze and you get frozen lashes and frozen nostrils. And when I saw that shawl and heard the name of it, it reminded me of a Green Bay Packers game. I think it was the first game I'd ever been to. I've only been to a couple, I think, but it was on Christmas Day a few years ago. It was freezing, and my husband and sons and I went to the game, and it was so cold that midway through the game I looked over and my son's eyelashes were all freezing, and my husband was holding a beer that turned into a slushie. I'm going to try and find that picture and insert it here, but if I can't, just imagine what that's like. So I had to make this shawl, and I purchased the shawl, and I talked to Hannah, and she said, let's do a swap. I want to make you personally a kit using Tuku wool, because that's the wool that she used for her project. Hello, yes. Oh my gosh. So what did I get in the mail? Not only the yarn, but Hannah made this amazing little kit basket for me. Look at the bird. That's wire. These beads for the feet. I love this I love this basket, and look at the colors she chose for me. She chose this plum color, a gray, and a cream. And then the frozen lashes section is actually done with beads. So she chose the Swarovski, these golden Swarovski beads for the ends. And of course, she had to throw in some handmade stitch markers as well. But oh my gosh, what an amazing kit. And how did she come up with the colors? She created a kit based on a flower that she loves in Finland. And the flower is actually called in English the European Pesca flower. And in Finnish, I'm going to just try and say it so that you can laugh, Hannah. In Finnish, it's Tarhakala manukuka. That is a long word in Finnish. But it's a plant that I did a little bit more research on. It's what is it? It's in the family of a buttercup, and it only grows usually it grows best at elevations over 4,000 feet. So it must be a really hardy flower in the spring, but she really loves that particular flower. And there you have it. You can see my gray, my cream, my purple color, and the center of the flower is the gold, and that was in the crystal. It's an herbaceous perennial plant. It develops upright rhizomes which function as food storage organs. Its leaves and stems are soft, long, silver gray, and hairy. It grows to 15 to 30 centimeters high, and when it is fruit bearing, up to 40 centimeters. The roots go deep into the soil. The finely dissected leaves are arranged in a rosette and appear with the bell-shaped flower in early spring. How cool. Thank you, Hannah. That is just such an amazing, amazing gift. And I can't wait to do this shawl. I kind of feel like this is going to be a really fun spring summer project. So, oh, you know, she of course threw some other things into the package. If you can ever get your hands on this, if you like licorice, you will love this. I usually don't like black licorice, but this is a candy that's a black licorice outside with a filling that they have different flavors. This happens to be the raspberry filling. I love the geometric colors of the wrappers. I had all different colored ones. This is the last one left. But this is an incredible licorice with this filling. I can't wait to try the raspberry. The chocolate was amazing, the chocolate filled. But I looked it up. I can get it on Amazon, but they charge me $20-some for shipping, and it could take up to 2 months. So it's probably better that I don't have access to these. Now, it says there's 350 kilocalories. Would someone please tell me that a kilocalorie is like 1/4 of a calorie? I have a feeling it's a calorie. So one of these is like lunch, but oh, what an incredible candy. You know, I feel like in this country, we don't have good candy. There's good candy in other countries, and this is amazing. So you Finnish folk, if you're out there watching this show, you are so lucky. So I think that's it. I think we made it. We made it to the end. I so appreciate you being here. I hope you had a good time listening in on some of the things that I'm working on, some of the acquisitions I was lucky enough to receive over the last couple of weeks. Do participate in that kit along if you can. It's ending March 31st, and join in as well on the Mitten Knit Along too. I hope you have a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of Treehouse Knits. Bye.